Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official college football week number 12 best bets, where we take a little look at some of the best bets that I do like here for week 12. We're really getting down to it with just 2 weeks left in the regular season, starting with the big noon game. This is a TCU Baylor matchup. We're finding value in the over 56.5. Both of these offenses really bad last week, so the over-under in this game probably has come down about 4 or 5 points. I would have figured if they both would have performed to their standard last week, we'd be looking at an over-under of about 60. I'm not going to be emotional about it. Baylor's been good on offense for most of this year outside of last week against Kansas State. And then TCU had the surprising defensive performance. Their defense really, outside of that performance last week, has not been very good. This is your Big 12 shootout, big noon type game. 56.5. There's great value. You get something like 30-27, and the over is hitting. We got to get these teams up and down the field in the first half. We've got a beautiful day there in Waco. It should be sunny and about 60 degrees, and we like the over. Both of the offenses are due for bounce-back performances. Wisconsin at Nebraska, it's a small number here, the under 41. I don't think they made it small enough, so Nebraska has an absolute horrible situation. We'll see if they get Casey Thompson back. Wisconsin simply can't throw. So really, I think Wisconsin's around 13.5 point favorites, but assuming we get lucky and Nebraska is starting possibly their third string quarterback, it's going to be cloudy. It's supposed to be cold in Nebraska on Saturday, about 36 degrees. There's value even in the under, 41. I think the over-under in this game should be below 40, personally, based on the quarterback situation and the fact that Wisconsin cannot throw the ball. Also, they're going on the road, which makes it harder to operate for your offense. Wisconsin has not scored very well the past 2 or 3 weeks, especially. Northwestern at Purdue, also the under 49, so a little Big Ten unders here for these 11 a.m. Central kickoffs. We've got one in Indiana and one in Nebraska. Northwestern, horrible on offense. Purdue, very shocking, the 31 points last week. I think it was an aberration, and you're talking about 49. That gives us some wiggle room to possibly have a game even finish like 38-7. I would be shocked if Purdue scored 38 points, but even if you get a situation like that, you're talking about 11 a.m. Central start time. We really need to start taking advantage of when these games are happening, the weather, the overcastness of the game, the dreariness, the fact that Northwestern just sucks on offense, and really look at games like this and find value in the under. Again, guys, Purdue scores 31 points last week. I'm treating that as an aberration. I don't think Purdue's going to go out there with their offense and their lack of playmakers and really do much. And we're seeing a Northwestern team at least fight a little bit in terms of their defense under Pat Fitzgerald. I would be very surprised if they allowed, 38 points in this game. Next, we've got Duke plus the 7.5 at Pittsburgh. I really like this number, 7.5 for Duke. To me, this is a close game. Pittsburgh, doing some research, quietly has an extremely bad passing offense. Pittsburgh does. I realize they're at home, but Duke, you look at their last 3 or 4 games, they've been very good, especially on defense. There's also value, I believe, on the over in this game. I'm personally not interested in it because of Pittsburgh's struggles throwing the football. They're really a run-heavy team, but Duke is no joke this year. They were a laughingstock last year. They're so improved. They've got a decent quarterback, and I think Duke can really keep this game within 7.5. I like that number, 7.5. Personally, UTSA minus the 13 at Rice, so sometimes you've got a freight train, and you just got to either bet on them or get out of the way. And with UTSA, they are a freight train right now. They've been crushing everyone. They've been scoring 50 points, 40 points. If they drop a 40 burger on Rice, I just don't think this number's big enough. I would say a fair number in this game would be UTSA minus 17. Rice, you look at their last few games, they've been terrible. UTSA is on a roll. Let's keep it going with their offense. It's a very attractive bet against a Rice defense that's not very good. I'll take UTSA minus 13. West Virginia plus the 7.5 versus Kansas State. This is the parity of the Big 12. This is Kansas State being extremely inconsistent week to week. There's no way to really make sense of what's going on, or excuse me, the Big 12. I think I said the Pac-12. The parity of the Big 12. There's no way to really make sense of what's going on because Kansas State loses to Texas, then they annihilate Baylor while Kansas loses to TCU and doesn't score any points. So it's all parity. We'll take West Virginia. We'll take the value. We like that number, 7.5 at home against the Kansas State team who's very bipolar. And I know they got the whole backup quarterback situation. He's playing well. I think Kansas State can still win this game. But either way, I like the cover for the home team. They've been scoring a little bit better. Next, we have Houston plus the 6 at East Carolina. A little bit of a correction game. I think Houston is still really good on offense. This past week, it was, their defense that struggled. They didn't cover the 20-point spread against Temple. They didn't even come close. To me, this is a field goal type game. If Houston were to lose, we get a 6-point buffer. I know East Carolina's been good on offense. They played well against Cincinnati, but they're not going to keep covering these spreads. 6 is too much. There's a lot of parity right now in the American. These are evenly matched teams. The correct line for this game is Houston plus 3. They give us Houston plus 6. That's value to Houston, in my opinion. Miami at Clemson, the over 46.5. So this is a model bet. There is significant value just in general on the over in this game, with it being at 46.5. The reason I think it's that low is because there's question marks with Tyler Van Dyke, Miami's quarterback. Clemson has a good defense. It's understandable. But you got to figure the weather right now, South Carolina, going to be pretty good for this game. We should look, even if we get something like 31-21, we get a nice little over hitting there. Also, Clemson's 19-point favorites. I would be interested if there was more quarterback certainty on possibly Miami plus the 19. I think that's a big number for a team like Clemson to cover. Penn State minus 19.5 at Rutgers. Guys, again, we're finding value on teams that are just runaway trains right now. I could see this final being 37-7 or something like that. Rutgers is horrible at offense. I realize they just covered against Michigan State, but it's Michigan State. Penn State's been covering every week. They've covered like 4 straight games in a row. They're on a roll. Rutgers is dead in the water. They have a terrible offense. I think Rutgers scores 10 points or less. That means Penn State's just got to get up around 30. I think they can do it. 19.5 is a little bit big, but the way Penn State's been playing, I feel confident. NC State plus the 5 at Louisville. Maybe we get lucky. Malik Cunningham dealing with an injury. Maybe he's out. But this is another situation where I think NC State had an aberration bad game against Boston College. They still have a really, really good defense. NC State does. And they're going to play well, in my opinion, on the road. They might win this game outright. But at the very least, they should keep this close and cover the 5. Next, we're looking at Buffalo minus the 15.5 versus Akron. In my opinion, it's just not enough. Buffalo is the second best team in the MAC. Akron is the worst team in the MAC. Buffalo's at home. This game, to me, 45-17, something like that. We also like the over 55. There's good value on the over in that game. UL Monroe at Troy, the under 46.5. So they keep giving us these Troy games, the over-unders in the mid-40s, and the under keeps winning. We're auto-betting the under in Troy games. UL Monroe, mediocre on offense. They're on the road. They're facing a good defense. That's the thing. The thing with Troy, they have a below-average offense. They have a really good defense. They're at home. We will take the under 46.5. That's a good combination. Western Kentucky at Auburn. I like the over in this game, 53.5. So this is a fun non-conference game. Western Kentucky sitting as 6-point underdogs. Auburn, they've been better. They've got some life into that program with the interim head coach. So guys, I know they only scored 13 points against A&M. This should, return to the mean. They've got a young offense. They're at home. Western Kentucky can score with Austin Reed. They can throw the ball. Give me the over in this game, 53.5. I like it. UTEP minus 14 versus FIU. So I would assume FIU is back to being horrible. This is just me betting against FIU just got annihilated by FAU, and FAU is not good. I think it was 52-7. So we were wondering earlier this year, is Florida International the worst FBS team? Is looking like maybe UMass, but now I don't know, guys. I'll take UTEP to cover a fairly easy spread, minus 14. Georgia Southern plus the 4 versus Marshall. Guys, the thing that I always say about Marshall, they're very inconsistent. So you might be saying Marshall's been playing so well, their defense is playing great. I get it, but they're so inconsistent. Just when you think they're going to be good, they struggle in a game. And Georgia Southern and their offense at home, plus the 4, I like Georgia Southern to win this game outright as a potential parity type game in that one. Next, we've got Oklahoma State at Oklahoma. I have to take the value here, the under. I understand this is the rivalry. It's crazy. They're always high-scoring games. But, guys, both of these offenses the past few weeks have simply not been good enough. I feel like both of them are leaning towards slightly more defensive teams, especially Oklahoma State, the way they've won recently, the quarterback injury. It's just too much value. I understand why the number's juiced up to 65 because we've seen what's happened, in these games in the past, but I still think there's too much value. When it's up to 65, I'll take the under. Boise State at Wyoming, the under 44.5. So Wyoming at home, it's always an under, especially this late in the season, guys. Wyoming playing in 30-degree weather. Boise State, they're not elite on offense. I mean, they're good. They're 14-point favorites in this game. I'll take Wyoming to cover the 14, but I feel more confident in that under 44.5 hitting in the cold temperatures. Wake Forest minus 10 versus Syracuse. I'm not too sure about this. I don't know. I mean, Syracuse is horrible. Syracuse cannot score. Wake Forest, for as bad as their defense is with Sam Hartman, you think they get to 34 points. There's no way Syracuse can score 24, in my opinion. I'll take Wake Forest to cover. But again, it'll probably be the opposite knowing how college football works, but just everything says Wake Forest is going to annihilate Syracuse. UAB at LSU, the over 52.5. LSU is due for a better performance. They're back home. It's going to be warmer weather. This is a 14.5-point spread, so I think UAB can be competitive. You're talking about a rare 9 o'clock Eastern start time, maybe a little fun game on ESPN2. I like LSU into the 40s, so give me the over 52. And then the final bet, we'll take San Jose State minus the 3 at Utah State. It's a little disrespectful to San Jose State. I realize San Jose State had a really bad performance when they were 2.5-point favorites on the road at San Diego State. But Utah State is not a good team. I like San Jose State. I like their defense. I know they struggled. They're going to get back on track. I like the under in this game, but I like San Jose State minus the 3 a little bit more. So, guys, those are my top 10 best bets here for college football week number 12. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.